Hallo en welkom by Farmspace. Ons is vandag hier so in Germiston by Big Dutchman se nuwe fabriek wat nou tans hier oopmaak. Big Dutchman is 'n industrieleier vir alles wat kom by hoenders, leeuhoenders, varke. En ons gaan 'n bietjie meer verstaan oor die tegnologie wat hier mee is. Langs my staan Scott Wiggle. Hy is die sales director van net Suid-Afrika nie, maar Suidelike Afrika. Welkom Scott. Hoe gaan dit met jou?
Baie goed, dankie man.
Okay, so one of the main things I want to start off talking about is pigs.
Yes.
Pigs is a big market in South Africa, as we all know, and one of the big challenges with pigs is biosecurity. Because I heard that there was a swine flu outbreak the last couple of years, and it causes a great devastation on a farmer. It can ruin some farmers. How does your technology help a farmer in this sense? Help a farmer with his biosecurity, ensure that swine flu doesn't come into his physical pen. Can you elaborate more on that?
Okay, I think looking and engaging with technology to prevent the customer from getting any type of disease is more of a mindset. So management principles come into play. Farmers normally do not allow people from outside to just enter into their farms. If vets or specialists like ourselves need to visit a farm, we would need to shower into the facilities. So it's more a management mindset. And the South African farmer in general, not just pig but also poultry, are very strict when it comes to biosecurity. I would like to believe that a South African farmer is on world standards when it comes to biosecurity.
Definitely. And something that we've been seeing being integrated in all the big technologies is the AI rush. Everyone is scared of it, but it's actually a tool that can be used. Something I was taught a couple of hours ago, it's like 5 years from now, AI is going to be like Google. It's going to be part of your business. How are you guys integrating AI into your technologies?
Yes, that's a very good question. I think we are definitely focusing on farm technology, on digital technology, not just from an AI perspective. AI is just not going to tell you exactly how to manage your operation. That all depends on management. So AI won't necessarily replace management because any farming operation is a 365-day process.
Definitely.
Okay, so
24/7.
Exactly. Farmers are feeding their animals on Christmas Day. So I'm not really too concerned about AI, but we are relying heavily on the digital space where we've got our farm programs that are interconnected to our ventilation. We're collecting data from the houses, we're collecting data from production, and based on that data we're formulating management strategies in terms of how can we more efficiently feed them, how can we reduce costs, for example, and at the end of the day we want to maximize production.
I understand what you're talking about, and something I want to touch on is your big farm network. That's something that's very interesting to me because, as you said, a pig needs to eat. It's like having a little kid running around in your house. If it's Christmas, he still has to eat.
Correct.
How does your big farm network help a farmer do more with less?
I think a very good question. Big Farm Net basically puts your farming operation at the tip of your fingers, where on your cell phone you have an app. You can basically monitor what is happening inside your buildings. You can monitor when it comes to bird production, for example, how much feed the birds are consuming. You can monitor the weights of broilers, for example. So it's just putting knowledge of what is occurring on the farm at the tip of your fingers.
And when we look at pigs and poultry especially, genetics as a big factor. Increased in production, increased in value, increased in ROI for the farmer itself.
Exactly.
One thing I want to ask you is, how does your equipment integrate with this increased genetics? How do you design your equipment to fit in with this picture?
Okay, genetics definitely plays a very important role with our industry. So we look at genetic requirements and we make sure that we can cater for their needs. So when it comes to ventilation requirements, when it comes to feed conversion ratios, we design systems that basically can facilitate the continued genetic progress within our industry.
Something that I've also seen that's a very big speciality, it comes back to the beginning of Big Dutchman, is your automatic feeding systems. Tell me a bit more about these auger systems, how they increase uniformity across your whole, let's call it a house. Tell me a bit more about that.
I think automatic feeding systems are absolutely crucial in any farming operation. Taking into consideration that your feed cost can surmount to as much as 70% of your overhead costs, it's very important that one minimizes feed wastage on a farm, and this is where automatic feeding takes plays a big factor within our industry. The fact that you can get feed from the silo bin to the feed pan within the building or to a pig feeder within a building with zero wastage. The norm is if you see food on the floor, you can write off 10% of your feed costs.
Sure.
And taking into consideration, farmers in general spend millions on average per month on feed. 10% of that equals a high value.
Something I also saw is it's not only the feeding systems, but also the feeding pans themselves. You guys have revolutionized. Can you tell me a bit more? I see there's 3 different types for the 3 different stages of your feeding program. Tell me a bit more about the feed pan design itself. How does that also help reduce the costs of lossage in the farmer house itself?
We have different feed models, pan models available. At the end of the day, when it comes to research and development and designing a pan, Big Dutchman pans definitely have the advantage where they are easy to maintain, they're easy to work with, and they save a lot of time. So we take into consideration those factors. How can we become more efficient in terms of providing a product to our customers that's going to take the least amount of time to manage?
The next big problem that we have in this industry is we're talking about the feed, and then comes the other part, everything that eats has to. Something that you guys have been revolutionizing is especially the compost towers that you mentioned earlier. Tell me a bit more about them, how this product or our waste product is turned into something that you can use again on your farm.
Yes.
Reintegration. And that's the most important thing about farming, is your entire reintegration.
Yes.
Having as minimal losses and using everything as well as possible. Tell me a bit more about these compost towers and how you reintegrate this previously lost into a new gain.
Okay. So you've mentioned something very important, is a lot of farmers don't actually, well, not actually farmers, a lot of the public don't actually realize the importance of manure. Manure is a source of organic fertilizer for a farmer. So you've got a lot of farmers that farm in maize, they do agronomy or crop production, where they will diversify their business and add a poultry facility or a piggery where they can basically take the manure, the wasted manure, and plow it into their fields and use that as an organic fertilizer, saving them on big costs of chemical fertilizers, for example.
That's amazing. Reintegration is so important, and that's something that I can see with everything that you do, is you try to minimize the costs.
Yes.
And in South Africa that is so important. Tell me a bit about the future of sales in South Africa. What's something that you're looking forward to, some new technologies that you're bringing to the country? Elaborate a bit more on that.
Well, I think that is a big question you've just asked there. Our industry is quite an exciting industry to be a part of. We're part of the feed business, and feeding the population has become the major focus. Our industry is very much an industry based on economies of scale. So in other words, the bigger your operation is, the cheaper your cost per unit works out to. And I think efficiencies play a big role. how can you be more competitive in comparison to your next door neighbor who you compete with. We're also dealing with challenges in South Africa with load shedding. So that's where solar has become a big subject, and how can we become more independent from external factors and be in more control of what we're farming with. I think that is the future moving forward. Farmers want to be more in control.
It's been an absolute honor to get to know you, get to know your company, and we're all excited for the future. Congratulations with the new opening of the warehouse, and just thank you for spending time with us today. So daar het julle dit. Hulle sê as jy land in chaos wil sien, voer hulle vir so 'n paar dae nie. En Big Dutchman is by die hartjie daarvan. Om die boer te help om produktiwiteit te verhoog en kostes te verlaag. Dit is Farmspace oor en uit.